Article 800.154 of the 2023 National Electrical Code, or NEC, addresses cables exposed to physical damage. It states that type CMP or CM cables installed in a wall shall be protected from physical damage by being enclosed in a raceway or listed protection. This means that if your Cat 5e cable is CMP or CM rated, and it's installed in a wall where it could be subject to damage, you need to protect it. The code doesn't explicitly say that Cat 5e cable must be in pipe in a wall, but if the cable is CMP or CM rated and is subject to physical damage, then it needs protection, and a raceway-like conduit would satisfy that requirement. Article 300.4g of the 2023 NEC covers exposed work in hollow spaces not accessible after installation. It dictates that in walls and above suspended ceilings, where the concealed space is not accessible after installation, open-top raceways shall be used to protect exposed cables. This means if the wall cavity is closed up after the cable is run, and you can't easily get back in to access it, an open-top raceway is required for protection. Article 300.11b addresses other cables. Where other than vertical metal studs, other metal structural members of a wall or ceiling system are used to support electrical equipment, the equipment shall be securely fastened to the structural member. Electrical non-metallic tubing, or ENT, shall be permitted to be securely fastened to a structural member with approved clips, straps, or other securing devices. Here are some recommended protection methods. Firstly, using conduit or ENT to enclose the cable is a robust solution. Secondly, installing the cable in a cable tray or cable gutter provides good protection, particularly for multiple cables. Thirdly, using a cable sleeve or protector specifically designed for use in metal studs is another option. Now let's dive deeper into the specific requirements and protection methods for Cat 5e cables within walls according to the National Electrical Code. We will explore the types of cables covered, the conditions that mandate protection, and the various approved methods for ensuring cable safety and code compliance. The National Electrical Code is a comprehensive set of standards designed to ensure the safety of electrical installations. It provides guidelines for protecting conductors and cables from physical damage, fire hazards, and other potential risks. When it comes to Cat 5e cables, several articles within the NEC are relevant, particularly those addressing communication cables and wiring methods. Article 800 specifically covers communication circuits, including those used for data transmission via Cat 5e cables. Within Article 800, Section 154, titled Cables Exposed to Physical Damage, is particularly pertinent. This section mandates that communication cables installed in locations where they are susceptible to physical damage must be protected by one or more approved methods. The type of cable plays a crucial role in determining the level of protection required. CMP and CM rated cables are specifically mentioned in Article 800.154a. CMP cables, also known as plenum cables, are designed for use in plenum spaces, which are areas used for environmental air handling, such as above suspended ceilings or under raised floors. CM cables are general-purpose communication cables suitable for use in other areas. If a CMP or CM cable is installed in a wall where it could be physically damaged, the NEC requires it to be enclosed in a raceway or other listed protection. A raceway is an enclosed channel designed to hold wires or cables. Common types of raceways include rigid metal conduit, intermediate metal conduit, electrical metallic tubing, and non-metallic conduit. The choice of raceway depends on the specific application and the level of protection required. In addition to raceways, the NEC also permits the use of other listed protection methods. These may include cable trays, cable sleeves, or other products specifically designed and listed for protecting communication cables. When selecting a protection method, it is important to consider the environment in which the cable is being installed. For example, if the cable is located in an area where it could be exposed to moisture, chemicals, or extreme temperatures, a more robust protection method may be necessary. Furthermore, the NEC requires that all cable installations be performed in a neat and workmanlike manner. This means that cables should be properly supported and secured, and that any unused cable openings should be sealed to prevent the entry of dust, moisture, or pests. Now, let's consider the specific scenario of a Cat 5e cable entering the top of a wall with metal studs and continuing down to a box. In this case, Article 300.4d of the NEC, titled Cables and Raceways Parallel to Framing Members, is relevant. This section requires that cables and raceways installed parallel to framing members, such as metal studs, must be protected from nails and screws that could be driven into the framing. One way to comply with this requirement is to install the cable or raceway at least 1/4 inches from the edge of the framing member. Alternatively, a steel plate or bushing can be used to protect the cable or raceway from penetration. Article 300.11 and B focuses on securing and supporting cables and raceways. These sections mandate that cables and raceways be securely fastened to structural members using approved methods. When installing cables in metal stud walls, it is important to use cable ties, straps, or other approved fasteners to secure the cable to the studs. This will prevent the cable from sagging or becoming damaged over time. In addition to the general requirements for cable protection, the NEC also includes specific requirements for low-voltage wiring. Article 725 covers Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 remote control, signaling, and power-limited circuits. Cat 5e cables used for data transmission typically fall under the Class 2 category. Class 2 circuits are subject to certain restrictions on voltage and current, and they must be installed in accordance with the requirements of Article 725. These requirements are designed to minimize the risk of fire and electric shock. When selecting Cat 5e cables for a particular application, it is important to choose cables that are listed and labeled for the intended use. The listing and labeling indicate that the cable has been tested and certified to meet the requirements of the NEC and other applicable standards. In addition to the NEC, other codes and standards may also be relevant to Cat 5e cable installations. For example, the Telecommunications Industry Association, or TIA, developed standards for cabling systems, including Cat 5e cables. These standards specify the performance requirements for Cat 5e cables and provide guidelines for installation and testing. It is also important to consult local building codes and regulations to ensure that the cable installation complies with all applicable requirements. Local codes may have additional restrictions or requirements that are not covered by the NEC. To summarize, the National Electrical Code provides comprehensive guidelines for protecting Cat 5e cables in walls and other locations. The specific requirements depend on the type of cable, the environment in which it is installed, and the potential for physical damage. By following the NEC and other applicable standards, you can ensure that your Cat 5e cable installations are safe, reliable, and code compliant. Let's delve into some practical examples of how to protect Cat 5e cables in different scenarios. Consider a situation where you are running Cat 5e cable through a wall cavity that is accessible after installation. In this case, you might choose to use a non-metallic conduit to protect the cable from physical damage. The conduit can be easily installed and secured to the wall studs, providing a continuous protective barrier for the cable. Alternatively, you could use a cable tray or cable ladder to support and protect multiple Cat 5e cables. Cable trays and ladders are particularly useful in commercial or industrial settings where there are a large number of cables to be managed. Now, let's consider a scenario where you're running Cat 5e cable through a wall cavity that is not accessible after installation, such as behind drywall. In this case, the NEC requires the use of an open-top raceway to protect the cable. An open-top raceway is a type of conduit that has an open top, allowing the cable to be easily inserted and removed. This type of raceway is typically used in concealed spaces where access to the cable is limited. In addition to these common methods, there are also a variety of specialized cable protection products available on the market. These products include cable sleeves, cable protectors, and cable bushings. These products are designed to provide additional protection for cables in specific applications. For example, a cable sleeve can be used to protect a cable from abrasion or impact, while a cable bushing can be used to protect a cable from sharp edges. When selecting a cable protection method, it is important to consider the specific needs of the application. Factors to consider include the type of cable, the environment in which it is installed, and the potential for physical damage. It is also important to choose a protection method that is easy to install and maintain. In addition to protecting the cable from physical damage, it is also important to protect it from environmental factors such as moisture, chemicals, and extreme temperatures. These factors can degrade the cable's performance and shorten its lifespan. To protect the cable from environmental factors, you can use a variety of methods such as installing it in a waterproof enclosure, using a moisture-resistant cable, or applying a protective coating. It is also important to ensure that the cable is properly grounded to prevent electrical noise and interference. Grounding helps to dissipate static electricity and other electrical disturbances that can affect the cable's performance. Proper grounding is essential for ensuring the reliability of data transmission. Another important aspect of cable protection is cable management. Proper cable management helps to prevent tangles, knots, and other forms of physical stress that can damage the cable. Cable management techniques include using cable ties, cable straps, and cable trays to organize and support the cables. In addition to these physical protection measures, it is also important to implement procedures for preventing accidental damage to the cables. These procedures may include training employees on proper cable handling techniques, marking cable locations to prevent accidental drilling or cutting, and implementing lockout/tagout procedures to prevent accidental energization of circuits. By implementing a comprehensive cable protection plan, you can ensure that your Cat5e cables are safe, reliable, and code compliant. This will help to minimize downtime, prevent costly repairs, and protect your investment in your cabling infrastructure. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code and other applicable standards to ensure that your cable installations meet all applicable requirements. It is also advisable to consult with a qualified electrical contractor or cabling specialist to obtain expert advice and assistance. Now consider the practical application of these codes and recommendations in a real-world scenario. Imagine you are wiring a new office building and need to run Cat5e cables for the network infrastructure. Firstly, you would begin by assessing the building's layout and identifying potential hazards. Secondly, you would determine the appropriate cable routing pathways, considering factors such as accessibility, environmental conditions, and the potential for physical damage. Thirdly, for cables running through walls, you would use either conduit, cable trays, or cable sleeves depending on the specific requirements and the type of wall construction. Fourthly, in areas where cables are exposed to potential physical damage, such as in mechanical rooms or storage areas, you would ensure that the cables are adequately protected by conduit or other approved methods. Fifthly, you would pay close attention to cable management, using cable ties and straps to keep the cables organized and prevent tangling. Sixthly, you would ensure that all cables are properly grounded to prevent electrical noise and interference. Seventhly, you would conduct thorough testing of the installed cables to verify their performance and compliance with industry standards. Eighthly, you would document the cable routing and termination points for future reference and maintenance. Ninthly, you would train employees on proper cable handling techniques to prevent accidental damage. Tenthly, you would implement a regular inspection and maintenance program to identify and address any potential problems. By following these steps, you can ensure that the Cat5e cable installation is safe, reliable, and code compliant, providing a solid foundation for the building's network infrastructure. In addition to the technical aspects of cable protection, it is also important to consider the aesthetic aspect. Cables that are poorly managed can be unsightly and detract from the overall appearance of a space. Therefore, it is important to use cable management techniques to keep the cables neat and organized. There are a variety of cable management products available in the market, such as cable raceways, cable sleeves, and cable ties. These products can help to conceal and organize the cables, creating a more professional and aesthetically pleasing appearance. When selecting cable management products, it is important to choose products that are durable, easy to install, and compatible with the type of cable being used. It is also important to consider the color and finish of the products to ensure that they blend in with the surrounding environment. In conclusion, protecting Cat 5e cables and walls requires a thorough understanding of the National Electrical Code, industry standards, and best practices. By following the guidelines outlined in this discussion, you can ensure that your cable installations are safe, reliable, and code compliant, providing a solid foundation for your network infrastructure. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when necessary.